Have you ever wondered, what are you supposed to do with your life? I remember in my early 20s, I started to ask myself, Sam, what are you going to do with your life? What impact are you going to make? I watched a lot of people, say that, they were called to something. They got an epiphany, a dream, a vision, or something that they were supposed to do with their lives. They had discovered their passion and they were pursuing it. And here I was, a young person, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do with my life. I just didn't know. And I remember, praying and fasting in some cases and reading multitude of books trying to figure out, what are you supposed to do in your life? In the meantime, I was working a job. I was an accounts manager. I was over about 24 people, and I should have been satisfied, but I wasn't. I kept saying to myself, there's got to be more to life than this. How many of you have ever asked yourself that question or said that to yourself? There's got to be more to life than this. And that was me. I was going, there's got to be more to life than this. And so it all came to a head. On my 30th birthday, I woke up that morning and it dawned on me that I was no longer in my 20s. It dawned on me that time was catching up with me. And I remember that entire day that I got in a depressive mode. I don't know what was going on with me, but I was just so depressed that day. And I remember sitting on the couch in my room and just sitting there and just pondering my life. And it dawned on me at that point that I hadn't done much. I had not made any differences in my life like I thought I'd be. I wasn't married. I was not in a committed relationship. I had no children. And I felt my life was passing me by. And I remember sitting there and I was just writing a letter to God. I just wrote a letter, and I was just saying how disappointed, how depressed, how anxious and worried I was. And I just remember just sitting there, just pouring all my anger and frustration and sorrow there. And I was still trying to answer the question, what am I supposed to do with my life? And I heard the quote that says that the two greatest days in your life is the day that you were born and the day that you discover why. I was trying to figure out, why was I here? What was I meant to do with my life? And I sat there, and as I was sitting there, a passage that I had read a while back, and I opened up the book and read it, the passage, and it said this: if you have gifts, you ought to use it. Therefore, having gifts, let us use them. And I remember reading that passage, and the light came on. Because years ago when I was in college, I remember wanting to become an accountant. I told my father, Dad, I want to be an accountant when I grow up. And I remember he looked at me with the proud eyes of a father like, you go, boy. And I remember going, and I took 2 accounting classes when I figured out you are in the wrong profession. I hated those classes. But at that time, I was also in a speech class. And I'll never forget my teacher. Her name was Dr. Liv Fitzgerald. I was sitting in the back of the room. I am an introvert. I was dreading the speech class. Now, if you've never been in a speech class, you don't know what I'm talking about. But they tell you the 2 greatest fears in the world is this: the fear of death and the fear of speaking. In other words, most people would rather die than speak in front of a group. So here I was in that speech class, and my turn came. And she said, Sam, it's your turn. And I got up there and I spoke to the audience and I went to sit down. And I was hurried back to my seat because I felt like she was watching me. And true enough, she said, Sam, I need to see you after class. And I was like, oh my God, I'm in trouble now. And so after class, I go to speak to my professor, and I remember her saying to me, Sam, what do you want to do with your life? And I looked at her and I said, I want to become an accountant when I grow up. And she looked at me, pointed her fingers in my face. I'll never forget her, Dr. Liv Fitzgerald. She had brown curly ears, blue eyes, and she was feisty. And she said, you are in the wrong profession. And I looked at her, I was like, no, she didn't. Yes, she did. And she said, you have a speaking presence. In other words, you have a gift to speak. And she says, you ought to make your living using your gift. You ought to speak for living. So here I was at the age of 30, and I was remembering that conversation because even though I heard her at the time, I changed my major and it was okay, but at the time, it didn't dawn on me how serious this was. See, I had spent my life looking for what I was supposed to do with my life, but the answer was already in me. And so most people, and today I get the privilege of working with hundreds of people and helping them figure out what they should do with their life. And usually they ask this question, what am I supposed to do with my life? And here's my answer. My answer is, do what you're gifted to do. Every single person on the planet has a gift. They have something that they do well. And when I talk about a gift, I'm talking about something that flows out of you naturally. Something that is unique to you. Now, everybody may be able to speak like you or have your talent, but they can't do it the way you do. And so, whatever flows out of you naturally, that is your gift. It's your natural ability, your natural strength or talent. And we all have one. And so most people spend their lives trying to look for why they're supposed to be on the planet. But here's what I believe. I believe that we are here to use our gifts to make a difference on the planet. I believe that every one of us has an ability to make a difference by using our gift. And as we use our gift, it will take us to the place of our calling. But for most of us, we spend our lives waiting for a voice, if you will, waiting for some kind of epiphany to move us in the direction that we're supposed to move. And here I was at 30 going to the same thing. And so that dawned on me. And so I said to myself, my gift is speaking. My gift is teaching. I need to find a way to use my gift. And at that point, I remember when a mentor of mine, he had a private school and asked me to come teach for him. And I remember saying to myself, yeah, man, that's, I don't see myself teaching, that's good, but I don't make any money, that kind of thing. And so I just kind of shoved that to the side and I pursued this corporate gig I was going into. And I got to the point where I was frustrated. I felt like the best times of my life in corporate America was when I was doing training. And so I bit the bullet. I said, I'm going to stop fighting. I'm going to stop wrestling with this thing, and I'm just going to use my gift. And here's what I did. I decided to use my gift. And you know what happened? An opportunity opened up for me. And the opportunity was that I had to teach first grade. And I remember she called me on a Thursday night and said, hey, Sam, we have an opportunity. And I remember I applied for positions after positions. You have an opportunity for you to actually teach a first grade class. And I was like, no. Because I'm thinking I'm going from corporate America to first grade. But I took the leap. I was willing to use my gift. So you have to do what you can with what you have where you are. So if that's you out there that you're saying, hey, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. Here's what I say to you. I say, use your gift. And trust me, you may not see right now how using your gift will lead you down the path where you're supposed to be, but it will. And here's what happened to me. I ended up teaching that first grade class, and because I was so good, they promoted me to 5th grade, and I started teaching 5th grade. And while I was in 5th grade, that's when I got the vision or the clarity in my mind about, hey, I've got to get out there and help people discover their niche. I've got to speak for a living. And ladies and gentlemen, today I can say that that is what I do. Every single day, work day that is, I spend my time helping people figure out what they're supposed to do with their lives. I work one-on-one. I've worked one-on-one with hundreds of clients, and I've spoken to thousands of people in audiences. Why? Because I was willing to use my gift. And my message to you today is this. If you don't know what you're supposed to do with your life, if you've been wondering, if you're straining to figure what that thing is, I say to you, look inside. What flows out of you naturally? What is it that people compliment you on doing well? Take that gift and use it, and it would lead you to your destination. And I say to you that you are not born just to make a living. You are born to make a difference. And as you make your difference, you'll make your living. Thank you. Till next time.